You are listening to the USDN on the DSPN.
It's a trap!
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the United States Department of Nerds, where we are for the people, by the people, and of the people. And tonight, we step into the cobweb corridors of horror nostalgia, a place where the ink drips darker than blood, and the punchlines bite harder than the ghouls who tell them. Our guest tonight is Grant Lankard, the creative mind behind Beowulf, League of Cryptids, and the haunting horror anthology that we will be talking about tonight, Memoirs of the Morbid, and this is going to be the Orange Edition. Grant, welcome to the show, my guy.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
We're going pretty good over here. Grant, first of all, welcome to the USDN. And let's rewind a little bit back to the 1990s when comic creators were like rock stars. And so what was it like growing up surrounded by that kind of energy? And what particular comic book kind of made you grab a hold of that and bring it into what this book is today?
Yeah, I didn't really read too much horror comic books when I was a kid. It was more superhero. As far as what was it like? The 90s were an exciting time for comic books. You could get comic books almost everywhere. For those, there was what's called a speculator boom in comic books, which means that even really bad comic books were selling like hundreds of thousands of copies. Like, to put this into perspective, the highest selling comic book of last year probably would have gotten canceled in 1993 but due to low sales. Like,
It's true.
That's how crazy it was at that time. You also had a lot of really exciting creators. At least creators that at the time I thought were really exciting. Some of their work has not aged as great.
Give us an example of a few of them that you enjoyed in that time frame.
Well, I mean, some of them that have aged pretty well would be like Jim Lee,
Yep.
Mike Mignola. Some of the ones that haven't aged as well, I would say, would be like Rob Liefeld.
Still can't draw feet.
Right. And I mean, and that's to say, I mean, there's definitely a lot of excitement in Rob Liefeld's drawings. They were definitely different. He definitely was not following any trends or anything like that, but pure artistic skill was not really great.
That's true, but he could put together a good story with Young Bloods. He helped bring Image to the map with Todd McFarlane. He's one of the original founding fathers over there, along with Jim Lee and a few others. So I give him his credit. He without him, I don't think we get the Image we have today, and that Image is booming big.
Right. Um, yeah, I didn't mention Todd McFarlane. His comic books were kind of in the middle, like not really bad, but not really good either. I also should mention Eric Larson. I really loved Savage Dragon when I was a kid.
Okay, yep. He was there when Image thing when they first started. Oh no, I will put Todd McFarlane on a pedestal because I am still reading Spawn today.
Oh, really?
I've
So
never wavered.
even though he doesn't draw it anymore?
It's not. He still does issues. He still does covers. He still does some writing. I think he kind of steps in when the story needs a new direction. I think he kind of steps in, starts it on a new path in a new direction, and then kind of hands it off to another writer to let them do their thing. So, but yeah, he still does some writing. He still does a lot of covers and stuff like that. So, but
You
I
might
mean,
be right about that. I don't know if
he's in a
that's
multi
official or not.
$1 billion business right now. So I can't really knock the guy if he wants to take his hands off and kind of give it off to some of these amazing creators that he does have working on it. So, but let's dive into a little bit more of what you're bringing to us today. So you started your very first book was Beowulf, correct? Or was it the other
Correct.
one? Okay.
No,
Give
Beowulf
us a
was
little bit about what Beowulf was for you.
You mean my comic book or the inspiration for it?
Yours and kind of what inspired it.
Yeah, so the comic book is essentially the guy you learned about in high school, but reincarnated in modern times. Now, why Beowulf in particular? Um, I remember as a kid, my parents had one of those like Time Life books
Mm-hmm.
with different fairy tales and myths and stuff. And I remember reading the Beowulf story in that. And what struck me about it was the fact that it reminded me of like a superhero story. Um, and I remember thinking like, you know what? Why not kind of combine the two? And that's why Beowulf stood out for me. Now, a lot of people have mentioned to me that from a marketing standpoint, it was a good idea to do Beowulf just because as much as everybody's heard of Beowulf, but there aren't a lot of um, modern versions of Beowulf. In
No,
other
I can't
words,
think of any really off the top of my head.
um, well, there's a few here and there. There's the Angelina Jolie one from like what was
Yeah,
that, the early 2000s. But I mean,
yeah, we don't
as
count that one.
opposed to Robin Hood or King Arthur or Hercules, which get revamped once every couple years. Um, Beowulf pretty much very rarely gets adapted.
That's true, and I've seen the more modern. I thought the more modern version of Grendel was really good. I did not enjoy the Beowulf as much, but so let's do this. So this book has kind of been a bridge from the golden age of comics into like a modern horror anthology. So how
Right.
did this evolve with the red edition, blue edition, and now the orange edition? And kind of why did you go with color schemes? And what does this new chapter bring to the table for you?
So I went with a color scheme as opposed to volume 1, volume 2, volume 3 because all of the stories are self-contained. I didn't
Okay,
want people to think they had to read volume 1 and then read volume 2 and then read volume 3. You can
gotcha.
read these
That makes
books
sense.
you can read these books in any order, or it doesn't even matter if you read volume 1 at all. You can just go straight into volume 3 or the orange volume.
Okay. No, I think that's a cool concept and a cool way to do it versus making it an anthology where kind of one story continues into the next book and stuff like that. Kind of like how Hello Darkness does for Boom Studios.
Yeah.
So no, that's a really cool concept. I like that. And so let's talk about what's coming up inside the Orange Edition. You got 4 stories plus a bonus segment.
Right.
And each is like its own little twisted mirror. Let's start with the Cubicle of the Damned. And I feel that title in my chest every day I walk into my office. But give us a little bit of background on that particular story.
So all of the stories are, I would say, there's a lot of, besides being a lot of horror, there's also a lot of humor in this anthology. And I would say of all of them, I think Cubicle of the Damned probably has the most humor. It's I was describing it as kind of like Office Space meets The Exorcist. In other words, it takes place in an office, but it's got a lot of horror elements in it.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, the idea is there's a young, like 20-something kid who has like his first job after college. He gets a job in an office, and he realizes slowly but surely something in the office is kind of draining people of their life force. And people are telling him, oh, that's just what working in an office will do. And eventually he finds out that there's something supernatural behind how his coworkers all kind of look like they're having the life drained out of them.
So this, to me, was probably my favorite story out of them because I can relate to it 100% working in an office like that. Granted, I love my day job, but there are days, especially like today, where the weather is like hot garbage outside and you're stuck inside watching it through the window just pour down rain. And it's slow. It's our slow time of year with the holidays coming up. So yeah, that one definitely resonated with me a whole lot, bud. But so up next we have The Bubble. It's kind of like a time travel, a scientist, and what he believes is a caveman with shocking origins.
Right.
This one was also really good. Like, I mean, I think I got it, but I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I did. But kind of what inspired that one and for you, like.
Well, so first of all, I should note that I didn't write that one, but
Okay.
that one was written by William Conway. But what I enjoyed about it was kind of like you said. I think I got it, but I'm not 100% sure. I like kind of that ambiguity where, like, at the end, you're not quite sure.
Yeah.
You think you have an idea of what happened, but you're not 100% sure.
No, I'm right there with you, and it was a very fun one, and I was like, because I kind of got it from the beginning on that one, but I didn't want to like just speculate right away. I wanted to see where it was going, and I enjoyed it immensely. The writer on that one nailed a fun story.
Yeah, it's a little bit spooky. It has a little bit of like the Jules Verne kind of aesthetic, not just in terms of the story, but also just the whole kind of vibe of it.
Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, he's working on time travel.
Yeah.
So you get that element to it, and then him just all of a sudden finding this random stranger that he decides he needs to help.
Right.
And that was what was weird about it. I'm like, why would he decide that he needs to particularly help this one specific person? So I thought that was interesting. There had to be a draw there. So a really good one. And next up was Fiona's Fantasy Forest, a children's host revisiting her imaginary world gone horribly wrong. It's kind of like Mr. Rogers meets Silent Hill here.
Right. So the idea behind this story is a children's host. Think of like either Pee Wee Herman or like Mr. Rogers or somebody like that. They take a break from going to their imaginary land, and one day they decide, you know what, I'm going to go back to the imaginary land, and all hell has broken loose in their imaginary world where, you know, everybody's fighting, everybody's having a war, a revolution has broken out. Some of the background characters have gotten kind of evil in different kinds of ways. I'm trying hard to describe it without giving too much away.
So if you're a comic book reader and if you have read Scotty Young's I Hate Fairyland, it's very much that type of vibe with fantasy creatures. Like Dora the Explorer's world exploded, and all the creatures all of a sudden hate each other, and they're pillaging villages. You know, like they've broken off and they have their own. Like the elves are one thing, and the animals are another thing. The lumberjack is like menacing to everybody. It was a fun, eclectic, wild story, and I enjoyed that one immensely. It very much gave me Scotty Young I Hate Fairyland vibes, and I was there all about it, and I can't wait to see it fully colored because I got a feeling that's going to be a spectacular edition once that one is colored. So, and then up next, we had Invaders, which it was 100% complete when you sent it over to me, but I kind of got what it was about. But it's a sci-fi horror, space survival with alien confrontation. It was giving me the cinematic feels of like Predator or Alien or something along those lines. So what can you tell us about that one and kind of like what was some of the inspiration behind it?
So I didn't write that one either. My friend
Okay.
Dave wrote that one. But yeah, so it's you're definitely going to get alien vibes from it. It's a woman is on a spaceship. She discovers that she's not alone on the spaceship. There's also an alien on there. And it has kind of a shocking ending. I'm not going to give away what the ending is, though. So if you guys are sensing a trend here that all of these stories kind of have like a twist ending, that is true to the original EC comics like Tales from the Crypt or Creep Show.
That was coming up next. That's a good segue. You had a sponsor for this comic book with Job Corps and the staffing agency for the Post Living, which is genius marketing. And the whole comic book is hosted by this ghoulish figure reminiscent of the Crypt Keeper, which, be honest, probably my favorite part of the entire thing because he brought that light humor to each story as it was kicking off. And I was always a huge fan of the TV show. So kind of where did your idea of that come from? Was it the EC comics and the creep shows and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, he's kind of a parody of the Crypt Keeper. He's maybe halfway between a parody and an homage, but yeah, so basically he's like the Crypt Keeper if the Crypt Keeper was really bad at his job. And he's way more worried about,
Yes.
you know, what, like how big his trailer is than
He is a diva.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that was really fun, dude. And the whole who come up with Job Corps?
So, so my wife and I kind of were. So that story was, or the bonus section was co-written by my wife and I. Um, my wife is a pretty good writer. She doesn't like, how do I put this? She doesn't like putting the effort into getting her stuff published.
Mm-hmm.
So she writes a lot of stories that um, kind of she doesn't really submit anywhere. So she came up with this. Well, I would say we both came up with this idea. Like we were kind
Okay.
of bouncing ideas off of each other. Um, and originally, where the idea came from was she went into a pharmacy to get her prescription, and she when she came back out, she was like, "Oh my God, Grant, you should have seen this girl. She looks like they propped up a zombie to like fill prescriptions." And so we started like bouncing ideas off of each other, like, what if what if there was a staffing company that provided like zombies, and I was like, yeah, this could be a section in uh Memoirs of the Morbid. And then and he said, well, instead of making it a story, wouldn't it be better if it was like an infomercial? And yeah, that's where the idea came from.
Dude, it's brilliant. And like I said, the stories were fantastic, but I enjoyed seeing the ghoul in between complaining about his trailer, complaining to his manager, and then sponsoring the Job Corps and those little vignettes that you did between the stories.
Thanks.
Probably my favorite part. So shout out to your wife too, man. Which leads us to the creators. So you got a pretty good team of creators here, an international team for sure, from Pittsburgh to Brazil, London,
Right.
and then you worked with Brian Morris, who was your editor and horror co-conspirator.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Tell us a little bit about that team and how this team came together for this.
so a lot of them. So actually, crazily enough, William Conway was a recommendation from an artist who actually ended up not finishing his story for the book. There was no drama or anything. He just didn't have time to
Yeah,
finish.
no, that happens all the time. It's just a part of the business.
So, but William, he came on. He told me the concept. I liked it. I told him to write it up, and then Alberto Pessoa, the artist on Bubble, he was awesome. He's worked on Memoirs of the Morbid before. He's always really easy to get along with. He's a great artist. He has a full-time teaching gig, so he can't do he can't do like a regular like monthly comic book, but like something small like this that had like really relaxed deadlines, he was great for. Now, obviously, we mentioned my wife, Angie Dudas. Obviously, I know her because she's my wife. And like I said, it used to bother me that my wife had all these ideas for stories and then she never
Mhm.
really put them out. But it doesn't seem to bother her, so I don't. You know what I mean? I think she's happy writing these stories but not necessarily getting them published.
Yeah, it's her release and how she blows off some steam, sits down with a notebook and writes out some stories. No, that's a really cool way to do it. And I'm
Exactly.
pretty sure a lot of people have a lot of good stories just sitting on a shelf somewhere that
So,
that nobody will ever see.
so she was actually going to write a much longer story in this story, and she just said like, I don't know if I have the the if I want to do that. So we did this story as kind of a compromise. As
It's a great
far
compromise. Now it was a lot of fun.
Thanks. So then I did the story and the art for Cubicle of the Damned. I did the art and the story for Cubicle of the Damned, and the story definitely comes from me. Definitely comes from my days working in a cubicle. I know you said you love your day job.
I really do. It's so I'm retired, and then I got a day job that's almost identical to what I did when I retired. So for me, it's kind of like I love going to work. I just there's days where I'm sitting in the office and it just sucks the life out of you because there's not a whole lot going on, and it's just the ebb and flow of things.
So that was more my experience from working in an office. Was feeling like the life was getting sucked out of me. So then, as far as like I said, one of the artists dropped out and didn't finish their story. So I actually I don't know. I got the idea for Fiona's Fantasy Forest, and thankfully Samir Samoa was free. So I wrote down this idea and I got him to do the art for it. And
No, I mean they really nailed because I mean it feels like it belonged in the 1970s with the original EC comics and the original Creep shows, but it felt modern as well. And which shout out to EC Comics, by the way. They are producing some really great horror anthology series right now. And they
yeah, they're
dip
coming
their
back.
toes into sci-fi as well. And they have some really great stuff out there. And I know I recommend EC Comics all the time, just simply because I think they're that good. Oni Press now has them. So they're underneath the Oni Press umbrella, but they are
Right.
producing some really good stuff right now. So, I mean, if you're
Yeah.
going to be inspired by a series, EC Comics is definitely the perfect choice.
Yeah, it feels like it's making a comeback, right?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, absolutely. They're selling really well. Their specialty is anthology comics, and I enjoy horror anthology, sci-fi, and that kind of stuff, like the Hello Darkness of from Boom Studios. I feel like I'm getting a little bit more for my money, even though I have to come back the following month to get the next one to continue the story, and I'm okay with that because I enjoy the artist in those books. I enjoyed the storytellers. I know before, like they did Epitaphs of the Abyss. It ended and they started Catacombs of Torment. But within Epitaphs of the Abyss, Karina Becco is writing a story called Blood Type, which now has spun out of Epitaphs of the Abyss into its own comic book, which is the very first time that EC Comics has pulled an anthology story out of their anthology comic book and gave it its own story.
Oh wow.
And that's being written by Karina Becco, who is an absolutely phenomenal writer. And it's such a good story. So I think they're really on top of their game right now. And Ani Press has Rick and Morty as well. So I don't know how many people enjoy Rick and Morty, the comic books, but the comic books are a lot of fun. And I know they're ending in December. They will print their last issue of Rick and Morty in December.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's a little heartbreaking, but we'll see what comes of the comic book after this. So, but let's see. You also had a David Schuler. Did you mention him already?
So Dave was a friend of mine from college, and I think we said earlier this comic book is almost finished. We're still waiting for his story, which the only reason why his story is taking a little bit longer than we thought it was going to be is because his wife just had twins.
Oh wow! Congrats to him,
yes,
man. That's wild. Can't imagine what that poor lady went through.
Right. So that's why he's very busy at the moment. But I am confident he still had he's gotten a lot of work done, and I'm very confident that he's going to get the rest of the story finished like in the next month or so.
Sounds good to me, man. I'm excited to get it in my hands, fresh off the presses when it is released. Now, let's talk about the Kickstarter a little bit. And so what's it been like for you in running? I know this isn't your first rodeo when it comes to Kickstarters, but what's it been like for you to run a Kickstarter, and what are some of the lessons learned from your perspective?
Oh God. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I do feel like it's getting harder. I don't know if you've ran a Kickstarter recently, but it does feel like, I'll do the same amount of promotion and get less of a, I don't know what the word for it is, less, bang for my buck. When like it used to be, I could send out a newsletter and, get 4 or 5 backers from that. And now I'm lucky to get like 1, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as what all have I learned, I mean, the main thing is if you're going into Kickstarter thinking that people will gravitate to it on their own, they're not going to. You have to be the one doing the promoting.
Yeah. Have you dipped your toes into any of the digital marketing side from Instagram or Facebook? I want to say even Kickstarter allows you to do digital marketing from the platform.
You mean like paid advertising?
Yes, like paid advertisement.
I haven't. I would like to. Okay, that's not true. I have done it in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel as if it's been super effective. And I think at least part of that is because I don't think that I'm very good at it.
Yeah. I don't.
So,
it's a weird one. I wouldn't say that you're not necessarily good at it. It's, I think, really putting yourself into it to do it, I guess, is what I'm looking for. Maybe.
Yeah.
Because I know I've seen other Kickstarters who have done the digital promotion stuff, and I see their stuff everywhere. Like I can't get away from it. It just is there. So I don't know. That's definitely something I would look into. I mean, I've not ever run a Kickstarter yet. That's an announcement for much later down the road, but I have a notebook that's compiling notes right now on a series that I'm going to be working on.
So that's the big advice I would give to people who want to do Kickstarter. Just go and take a look at Kickstarters that you think are successful or maybe attainable. Like look at what they did, maybe even back a few comic books that you're not that interested in, just so that you can follow along and see like, oh, so he did this, and this.
Yeah.
And like you said, take notes. I would also recommend Tyler James. He has a podcast called Comics Launch.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend. He also has like a paid tutorial that you can pay extra for to do that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I would recommend listening to his podcast because I think you learn most of what you need to know from the podcast.
Yeah. So I will say this. I know Bruno Caterino, who's been on the show a few times, he has a free lessons learned or lessons that he's learned from Kickstarter. It's now in its 2nd volume. So if you sign up for Bruno's, what's it called? His,
what's his name?
Bruno Caterino. He's out of the UK, but he has a monthly like newsletter that he sends out, and you can go to some of the back issues of his newsletter, and he has a link to some lessons learned in there. And I think he's on volume 2 now, and I think it's got a whole lot of
his last name.
Yeah, Catarino, Catarino. He's a cat guy too, just like us.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm always in favor of, you know, stuff like that, like people who are doing the work and have, recommendations.
If you want to see a huge, and I do mean a huge Kickstarter, I think it's in the top 1%, and it made like 80 grand on his was Dark Pink Comics with Chris Ford. Very successful, and he did a lot of digital marketing for his as well. And another thing I like for Kickstarters to do is give updates. So once it's been launched, I enjoy personally seeing the updates of the comic book, kind of like, you know how you can have the ability to go in and post updates and stuff like that. I like
Yeah.
seeing those. It just lets me know, like, I know the writers and the artists are actually working on the book, and because you hear a lot of bad stuff come from Kickstarter. Like, oh, they were just there for money and they didn't produce anything, and that put a lot of hesitation on myself when I first started supporting Kickstarters. But thankfully, I got over that pretty quickly, and I've worked with a lot of great people like yourself with Kickstarters, and having them on the show, it's definitely put me at ease to be more willing to back indie creators like yourself. So,
Sorry, my camera's jostling. I have to plug my computer in.
oh no, you're good, man. But
Yeah, so like I said, this is not my first Kickstarter. This is now my oh boy, how many have I done now? Probably closer to 12th Kickstarter. But every other Kickstarter that I've done has been finished when I put it up on Kickstarter. Unfortunately, and I'll fudge that a little bit. Like sometimes it won't be completely done. Like I'll have like a little bit of lettering left to do or something. This is definitely the most work that I've had to do like left on the Kickstarter. But really, this is like I said, I do have a history of fulfilling all of these Kickstarters. So if you're nervous about the fact that it's not 100% done, I just want to say, don't worry about it. It's definitely going to get done. I definitely have confidence in Dave.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way you do now about that, because I've got some comments that haven't even, like, they're in the very early stages, but I have 100% faith in the creator of that comic book that it's going to get made, because you can hear it in their voices. You know that this is their passion project, and they're going to do what they have to do to make sure it gets backed. So,
thank you.
Yeah, man. So with that, before we let you crawl back into the crypt, where can people find Memoirs of the Morbid, the Orange Edition, and where can they keep up with you on future releases?
So Memoirs of the Morbid is available on Kickstarter. Hopefully you'll put a link somewhere in the show notes, or
it's out there already. I've got it shared across all my platforms so they can find it easily.
Cool. As far as me, if you want to keep on following me, I have a really distinct name, Grant Lankard. The last time I checked, I'm the only Grant Lankard on any of the social medias. So yeah, fine. I'm on all the major social medias except for Twitter, because I hated Twitter. But yeah, follow me on any of those, and most importantly, my Substack. I do have a Substack if you want to follow me there.
Perfect. But yeah, I have everything linked. I have your Instagram linked. I have the Kickstarter linked below all the posts about Memoirs of the Morbid. Before I let you go, though, describe this new volume using one terrible pun that the Ghoulmaster would say.
Don't make a grave mistake by missing it.
Love it. So with that, everybody, I am going to go ahead and announce right now. So if you didn't stay to the end, or if you're listening later, on 30 October, I'm going to have a bonus show that I did not include on my calendar for the month. And I did that because I wanted to have one last surprise for everybody. So if you're a fan of cosplaying, if you're a fan of Comic-Cons, if you're a fan of zombie movies, if you're a fan of the old 80s B-real horror movies like I am, that are just full of the blood and the guts and the zombies and the fun, nostalgic of those types of movies, I will have the creators of ZombieCon Volume 1 live here on the United States Department of Nerds on 30 October at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to have a blast talking all things ZombieCon and how they made their own indie horror movie on a budget about the size of your grandma's Lincoln Cadillac. So tune in for that one. You're not going to want to miss it. Grant, welcome to the United States Department of Nerds. You're now officially a member of the Council of Nerds. And with that, everybody, be good and be safe out there. And we will see you on the 30th. We are out of here. Y'all be safe.
It's a trap!